Well, hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Live at the Waterhole. My name is Amy, and I will be with you for the show today. And we are starting off with everyone's favorite herd of elephants drinking here at Hyena Pan in Botswana. How beautiful is this? It looks like a bright, sunny day, just like down here in the Lowveld where I am, nice and warm. And if I was an elephant, this is definitely where I would be. Now remember everyone that this is of course a live and interactive show, so please do make sure that you send through your comments and questions to me. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know who you are, where you're watching from, maybe what snacks you have today. Always interested to know. And yes, you can do that on the Wild Earth app or the website. You can chat to us in the chat stream. Just remember to use @FC if you'd like to talk directly to me, or you can join the conversation on X using the hashtag WildEarth. Hello, Kim, Penelope, and Joanne. Lovely to hear from you all. Thanks for saying hi. It's good to have you all on board. And yes, let's see what today's show holds for us. I think the sun is out in most places, cleared up after a bit of rain, especially in South Africa that's come through the country over the last few days. And it is hot in the Lowveld once again. It also looks like it's quite warm here in Botswana. Hopefully that means lots of action around the water. Darcy Miller, hi. Yes, it is a fantastic start, isn't it? I'm loving watching this little one here. It's big enough to actually reach over the trough, which is great. This one isn't actually that high, so I think it suits most little ones. That is a really tiny little baby there. Oh my goodness. It looks just like a few months old, if not weeks. Oh, hi, little one. No, maybe a few weeks. Definitely not super newborn. It just looked so small next to mum. Kev, I think everyone watching, including myself and the Wild Earth team, would agree when you say that you love seeing baby elephants. It is one of the greatest joys in life, I think. How can we tell how old the babies are? Well, it's really all about their size. Impossible unless you see a birth yourself and actually monitor that little one to be able to tell how old it is exactly. So it is a bit of a guessing game, but we use what we know about the growth of elephants, the timeline, certain signature marks that come to be over a certain amount of time. For example, if the little one still fits under mom's underneath her, can walk through, we know that that is generally less than 6 months old. If it's about a year and up, it can stand sort of just at her belly height. And then I think at the 3-year mark, those very first signs of tusks start to appear, almost like little white dots, pearls on either side of their face. Then you know they're about 3. And then of course very newborn babies are very pink still, especially behind the ears, even in between the folds of the skin, very pink and still quite smooth and shiny somewhat. So that's sort of the little things that we use to have an idea of age. Suckling happens all the way up until 5, even 6 years old. So that's not something that we can really say, okay, well, if they're still suckling, they're X years old. We use more size and some distinguishing features on the baby itself to help us give an idea of how old it could be. You see this little one leaning against the tree here. Do you see how it has those little white dots coming through? Right at the base of the trunk. So I would estimate that that little one is about 3 years old. Maybe even still 2. They're just starting. They're not quite. They're a little bit grown, so maybe somewhere then between 2 to 3 years. There we go. See how they've grown out a little bit already. So maybe closer to 2 than 3. But like I say, it's an estimate, but we can know that it's definitely over a year, definitely at least 2, if not going on 3 by now. Bianca, that's a great question. You want to know at what age can babies communicate with their moms, or if they're born able to. I think they have that ability, just like, you know, any baby that's born mammal-wise, being able to vocalize. Their sophistication in that communication may not be as advanced, but I still think they can definitely let's say trumpet or scream, if you want to put it that way, when they're not happy, maybe make some lower frequency rumbles that we wouldn't be aware of. They do have a vocal box or vocal cords when they are born, so the ability to communicate is there definitely from birth. And that little one there is actually using mom for some shade. And it's amazing, and I think what pulls at our heartstrings as humans is how the moms take care of their babies, and even how close-knit the family is with taking care of the little ones. So this is probably the bigger female being the mom, her previous calf standing to her left, and her current calf now on her right. Kev, that's actually a great question with regards to elephant milk production, if it changes across seasons. So I think there may be a variation, particularly in the level of milk production, but they don't completely stop milk production just because it's the dry season, or go into overdrive because it's the wet season. Of course, nutrition directly has to impact the ability for a cow to be able to produce milk, and also the quality of that milk. But I think the level might vary a fair percentage between winter to summer, but they don't completely stop, or they're not able to provide milk for their calves. I did read recently, actually quite interestingly enough, about elephant milk and research done on it, that as the calves grow and so time moves, the African elephant milk will actually change its composition, with losing certain amount of lactose and protein, but the fat and protein increasing as the calf gets older, depending on what it needs, which is actually very, very cool to learn about elephant milk production. And it's cool that there is actually research being done on that, which is fascinating. The main components of milk, mammal milk anyway, being lactose, of course, and then protein and fats. And when the calf is very, very small, it needs a higher level of lactose, and as it grows up and becomes older, it needs more protein and fat content. See, the pool party has kicked off here with these Ellies, which is always fun to see. Jive Bunny, thanks so much. It's good to be here. It's been wonderful to host this week for you all. I'll be having a little break now until late in November as I head to Mabula, which I'm also very much looking forward to being back out on drive with all of you. Rosie Adams, you'd like to know, when do their little tusks start to show as a rule? I would say, as a rule, inverted commas on that, you can basically say that when those little tusks first appear, the calf is 2 years old, not really before that. When they start to grow out a little bit more, then you can say 2 to 3. And once they're a fair distance from the face, you can then say 3 years plus, and then you'll get a size difference becoming quite apparent as well, Rosie. Can hear some greater blue-eared starlings calling. Some looks like maybe some elephant bulls, at least one there resting in the shade. They tend to have taller back legs, I find, and front legs. I mean, just their whole undercarriage seems to be a lot higher than females. Nola, you'd like to know if I've ever spent time in Botswana? I have. I've been very fortunate. I actually did a trip a few years ago to Victoria Falls, which was incredible, and we did a trip over to Chobe National Park, where we explored there and also went on a boat safari up the Chobe River, which was amazing. Highly recommended. And just to be in the water with these elephants crossing the Chobe, and they always head to an island basically every day to feed, and that was remarkable, to be sort of on the water with the elephants. So yes, I would love to go back there. It's an amazing place, as many places are in Botswana, but the Chobe and the national park there is really spectacular. The Delta, however, is still on my bucket list, which I would absolutely love to see one day. Ah, that elephant's missing its tail. Or is it just swung to the side? Could very well be that it's missing its tail. It does happen out here. Not only with elephants, but zebras, even giraffes sometimes. Well, giraffes are a little bit higher. Oh, they're the little ones coming to the water. Oh, cute, man. Oh no, this baby is so sweet. Just collapsed there in the water to cool down. Is it struggling to stand again? Oh man. Oh shame, Mom. Oh no, that was too funny. I mean, that's one way to cool down, right? Mom can just splash you. She was honestly like, I've got work to do, child, get out the way. Or if you're going to be there, you're going to get wet. Oh no, that was very funny. Well, hasn't this just been so, so cute for this baby who's just stuck by mom's side? Rosie, you a little bit confused by what I said earlier with Victoria Falls. It is the same in Zimbabwe. So where Victoria Falls is in Zimbabwe is, if you imagine Zimbabwe as a teapot, its spout is right next to Botswana, and Vic Falls is right on the tip of that spout. So it's very easy to just cross over the border into Chobe, and a lot of trips or tours or things like that you might do, experiences you might book, will include both Victoria Falls and Chobe because they're right next to each other. It's a relatively short drive from one to the other, and then you cross the border and you're quite close to Chobe as well. So that's why you can do both countries, both sort of landmark features in one vacation trip or safari experience. Oh, this little one is so adorable. Vicky, you'd like to know if there's a reason the Lowveld doesn't offer many boat safaris. Vicky, yes, there most certainly is, and that's because there's not a lot of places to go on a boat in the Lowveld. Generally, I mean, the one that I know of quite well is the boat safari you can do is in the Blyder River Canyon, which I actually did the other day with my family who came to visit. It's really beautiful to be able to go through the canyon on boat. But in terms of game viewing, like you would imagine in the Kruger or something like that, the rivers are just not conducive to doing that. There's also no like massive lake, if you think of Kariba or something like that, to be able to go on a boat, or a really big river like Chobe where boat safaris are, you're actually able to do it pretty much all year round. Whereas the rivers that flow in the Lowveld are, even though they are ones that are perennial or permanent, their water level is highly variable, and it just doesn't allow itself to be successful in running that as an option for guests. Ooh, there's some rumbling, some communication going on there. Jill, you want to know if all female elephants help raise the elephant calves? They have a role to play, and they are protective over the little ones. They'll definitely help, but the primary role definitely falls to the mother. In terms of, you can see clearly the little one will stick to mom's side and she will look after it and be the primary caregiver, but the whole herd is definitely conscious of those little ones and will always take care of them, and help them, keep up with the herd or help them cross the river, but they don't perform the same function as mom, I would say. Oh, that one's having a scratch. Sandy, so the way that a baby Ellie would recognize its mom is, of course, it was born to its mother, and that's who was right there when it was born. So I think scent as well as sight plays a big role. And I suppose, although for humans you just like, you know who your mom is, I think it's very much, we could ask that question for any of the mammals that we see, knowing who mom is. But I do think scent plays a major role, and I think they could also recognize the communication from their mother, compared to other individuals. They know her voice, as it were. Oh, there's a hyena. Hello. Hyena at Hyena Pan. There we go. It had to happen one day, right? Definitely a spotted hyena. Oh, there's two. Oh, wow. I think they were chilling in the hollow of that tree trunk, maybe, or just in the shade there. That is very cool. Ah, it's time to cool down. We know that hyenas love a good little pool party of their own. Are Catherine places on my bucket list? I mean, it's going to sound very much like the cliches, I think, but it's true. I want to visit the Okavango Delta. I want to see the Great Migration at some point, see Mount Kilimanjaro. Those sort of things are definitely on my African bucket list. Namibian, the Namib Desert, climb June 7. I'd also absolutely love to visit Egypt. Growing up, I had a fascination with Egyptology and the history there. I just think it's incredible. See the Great Pyramids. Maybe go on a cruise on the Nile would be amazing. We have an incredible continent with so much to offer. I think I watched every program that came out on like Tutankhamun that ever existed. Well, this has been a wonderful start here at Hahina Pan. We may very well come back, but I think for now, let's head over and see what's happening at Safari Hook in Namibia. Some more Ellies and Springbok in the background. It's always nice to have a different view, see a different place. And the pelican is still here, that's been hanging around. I did have a good look at it the other day, and it does look like it is a great white pelican that's here in the background. Fascinating bird that is as well. always love seeing some of these big boys lie down in the water. It is fascinating. All right, fantastic. Let's head over to Juma. Oh wow, we've got some birds. Is it pale morph? Is it a pale morph warburgs in the back? And then we've got, it looks to be at least one tawny eagle. Oh, then it looks like they're anting or chasing after termites or alates that have come out after the rain. They do practice this behavior. You can actually see them fly, all the little bugs flying around. So I think there's just been an insect breakout, which is actually exactly what you would expect after the rains that came through yesterday and then very warm weather today. And lots of sort of flighted insects would come out from the soil, for example. Termites send out what we call alates, which are a favorite snack of many, many birds. Oh, there's another. This is fascinating. The only thing I'm looking at is if there's potentially a steppe eagle there, the one on the right-hand side. They have a very distinctive look to them. They're a migrant all the way from the steppes of Russia, which is fascinating. But definitely at least one Wahlberg's eagle, if not two of them, which could be a pair there that are now together. And then either tawny or steppe eagle. It is a little bit tricky to tell in this moment. Possibly more likely to be a tawny eagle, but we know that steppe eagles practice this behavior quite frequently. Oof, that did look like it was a steppe eagle, everyone. Just the way that gape, very yellow all the way to the back of the eye. And the way the feathers sat on the legs, they're really extending quite far back. But, oh, hello, marabou stork as well. Just with the quality visual there, difficult for me to say 100% without a good look at some defining features. But They do practice a lot of anting like that, feeding on alates. I think this marabou stork's also getting in on some insect action. Venus, absolutely. The bird life is amazing, especially with the insect activity that's becoming more and more prominent now that the heat has arrived after the rains. Well, small rains. It's not the rains just yet. But I can see a hint of greenness in the grass coming through just a little bit, which is always nice. Oh, I think that's that Wahlberg's, pale morph Wahlberg's. Could also be a pale tawny, but it did seem to have a bit of a slimmer leg and a little bit of a crest at the back, although I didn't have the best view. And they keep flying around here. But yes, the bird life has been amazing. I can hear plenty of weavers all over the show. There are two there now. I'd love to get another view of that brown eagle. The one thing to differentiate between the tawny and... oh, there's vultures now. Oh, wow. Looks like two hooded vultures. With the tawny and the steppe is the gape. So how far the side, sort of their mouth extends. The tawny sort of halfway in the eye. Whereas the steppe eagle will expand or be longer than the eye, the yellow bit on the side of the mouth. So those are one of the key things to help us to determine which brown eagle it was. But nevertheless, it was a fantastic sighting. Clearly nice and warm, even the vultures needing to come for a drink here today. Now, when it comes to the hooded vulture, the juveniles have more of a white to their face, whereas the adults are pink. It looks like this one, it has the more whitish face, so it's a juvenile. Whereas the one that we saw earlier, you can see is quite light. It could also be the sun, and the way the light is hitting the face did look a little, one of them looked more pink, but at the moment they're actually both looking very white. Viv, you're loving this? I'm so glad. It's nice to have a bit of variety as well. Yeah, definitely the one on the right is more pink than the one on the left. So we've got one adult and one juvenile. And with hooded vultures, they are the smallest of the vultures that we see here. And you can just see how slender that beak is as well. Made for really getting into carcasses, into the small little crevices and things like that. That bigger beaked or heavier billed vultures wouldn't be able to reach. Looks like there was at least one battalier flying there. Very distinctive shape in the air. But there seems to be a lot of birds around. That is amazing. And large birds at that as well. Whether it's vultures, battaliers, probably tawny eagles as well as wahlbergs flying about. Rosie, the bird that you're talking about is a marabou stork that we saw feeding on what I think would have been termites. I do think that a lot of this activity is definitely from the elephant carcass that many of you would have seen during the live safaris. And everything from tawny eagles to battaliers to many vultures would be having a feast. It is just amazing to see so much bird of prey activity. It's not a normal, oh wow, that one just landed right above us. It's not a normal situation that we find ourselves in here, so this is really fascinating. I almost don't know where to point the camera. Looks like some of those eagles are back on the ground. Ooh, that one wasn't happy with the other. I'm going to have a close look now at that gape on the side of their mouth, how far it extends, if it's past the eye or not. Rosie, you are enjoying the crested barbet that you often hear call. Now that you know what it is, birding is a wonderful journey, and I think many of us who appreciate nature and enjoy spending time with it, specifically in South Africa, of course, because of the birds that we get to share with you on live drives and through this show. If you actually hear those birds or see them in your day-to-day life, how special is that? And I know for family members that I've introduced to birding or helped sort of give more information to what they're hearing in context and things like that, when you understand your environment, how much more does it mean to you and have value, to add value to your life. So for birders or people who perhaps just want to understand the birds that are in their garden and know which bird is calling, it's a wonderful feeling when you hear something and you're like, oh yeah, I know that is that bird that's calling every morning in my garden, for example. And it just gives this extra little facet of value to your life. Bianca, yes, they most certainly can take advantage of the ants or the alates, which are the flying termite, the flying ants. It's definitely possible. I mean, just off the top of my head, things like even baboons, little mongooses would be interested in that. So there's lots of smaller creatures that would also snack on things like termites or ants. Hudson, I think it's because there's so many little insects around that there's no need for them to fight. I mean, we did see the one sort of chase off the other one briefly, but they're not really in each other's way, and I think they have to concentrate so much on trying to find the insect that they're not really having to bother about each other, whereas vultures at a carcass, it's one still thing, and then you would see the real competition and vultures going for each other, or even tawny eagles or different birds of prey, because there's one thing to go after, whereas here there's so many that there's no real reason to fight just yet. Catherine, that is so wonderful to hear you say you love birding thanks to Wild Earth, and you are obsessed with your bird lists now. It is something fun, something special, and it adds a lot of value if you start keeping a list and have record of where and when we see certain birds. Well, this has been some fantastic birding. Who knows, we might be back. But for now, let's head over to some elephants at Rosie's. Oh my goodness, another baby Ellie. How cute is that? I do apologize, everyone, we lost the feed there, but we've come over back to Jumo, where there's now a second marabou stalk. Wow, all these marabou storks must have landed here since we left and came back again. They do tend to flock in groups, and I think many of them must have been circling. They like to do that, ride thermals up quite high. I think that might have been a yellow-billed kite actually. It's also been around. There was a question earlier about all the catfish that were dead here. Not only catfish that were dead, there were also many tilapia. And yes, they all seem to be gone. I think the fish eagles took care of that. Maybe some birds like battaliers, marabou storks, even vultures potentially getting rid of things like that. And that was a perfect example of showing that scavengers and sort of part of that decomposing process and how important they are to get rid of dead carcasses. Well, dead carcasses, that's unnecessary repetition. Carcasses, of course, dead, but to remove carcasses like that. These links in these food webs are so vital and help keep the bush clean. Let's head over to Naledi with an elephant. I see there's a second one that's arrived. That's fantastic. One drinking, one gonna splash itself, I'm sure. Heading over to their favorite cooling off spot. some fresh elephant dung there, and it's interesting to actually take note of that fresh dung and show you all the color difference. We're so used to seeing older balls of dung, but you can just see actually how bright, almost very, very tan color it is when it first exits the elephant. And what happens over time is, as that dung oxidizes, it changes color, comes into contact with the elements that are outside of the digestive system of the elephant, and also starts to dry out, of course. It looks like this Ellie's finished with his drink. Oh, maybe starting to grab some of those fresh green leaves that are starting to pop out of some of the trees now. very nice. Let's head over to Nkoro where there are some buffalo. Oh, and zebras and a hippo and an Egyptian goose. Looks like there's a bit of burning going on in the background as well, which is probably a controlled burn for the area. And fire is an important part of felt management, looking after the land, getting rid of overgrowth, or what we refer to as moribund, which is sort of dead grass that collapses on itself year after year and actually increases the fuel load, which can be very, very dangerous if there is a breakout fire. So often the burning actually helps with that. Sometimes, although there are uncontrolled fires, or sometimes lightning strikes, sometimes we have unfortunately visitors to parks that can cause fires, which is a sad thing. It's happened quite recently with, for example, coals that are not put out at night. The wind comes up and lights up thatch. Even sometimes people throwing their cigarette butts, which can start fires, which is all very frustrating, I must say, from my side, when these things happen. But when it is controlled, when even an unexpected fire is managed properly, it can do a lot of good for the grass and for the vegetation. And that sort of rebirth in the spring or the summer when the first rains come is quite remarkable. Well, this has been such a lovely scene to enjoy here. Penelope, yes, this hippo has been guarding the waterhole very well. Don't know from what exactly, but it's been lovely to have such variety here today. These buffaloes also just cooling down, enjoying. You can see the one sat already. Not sure exactly how large the herd actually is. I know quite a few have moved away already, but it did seem like a fair amount that had come through for a drink. Oh, that sounded like a zebra. Very interesting noise that they make. Looks like these zebras are also still hanging around. Oh, there's a little one there as well. Maybe these are different ones that are arriving for a drink. I love when a group of zebra come down to the waterhole. It is gorgeous. Katie, so the smoke in the background is from burning that's happening. It looks like a very mild fire that sort of just some logs are still smoldering. Perhaps it is still burning slowly at the very front of the fire. So that is, you can actually see the burn line behind those zebra. Well, we've come back over to Juma, and there are some water back here in the distance feeding. So yes, that smoke there was from burning that's happening, and it sort of smolders like that for a little while until especially with new grass that might be burning, might also be a log that's still burning quite heavily even if the fire is over. Well, let's head back over to Hyena Pan. Always so beautiful, especially with the water that's reflecting the blue sky now today. All these elephants are looking very calm right now. Lots of them having a rest. The one channeling its inner hippo lying there in the background, right in the middle of the waterhole. Sometimes I do wonder what it seems like a group of bulls hanging out here actually. The herds have moved off. What they're saying to each other. Interesting, this one in the middle has a very long right tusk but a much shorter left one, obviously broken off at some stage. Oh, there's one elephant herd there on the right. You can see two of the smaller ones there. But for the most part, I think these are actually bulls around. And that one that's in the water is really having a snooze, isn't he? Or she, but just completely relaxed there right in the middle of the water hole. And often, you know, we do see elephants lying in the water, but it's actually been still for a very long time. Very much like we would expect of a hippo, not so much of an elephant. I wonder if the hyenas are still around, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But they might have probably moved off and gone into the shade. But how comfy does this elephant look? Actually looks like it's closed its eyes, doesn't it? Wakey wakey, sleepyhead. It's always interesting to see how, especially in the heat of the day, these animals tend to flock to the tiniest bit of shade, like one under each tree. I've seen that multiple times with especially elephants, but even buffalo, giraffe as well. Well, there always is something to see here at Hyena Pan, mostly elephants, but I'm super chuffed that we got to see an actual hyena, two of them here today. Julian, yes, this is one of those locations that I think you could just have this spot and be able to do an entire live at the waterhole show, just enjoying and watching, listening, and seeing the behavior of these elephants. Jill, I was just saying to Jordan, who was directing the show today, that it's really been a fantastic one. Such variety and lots of interesting little things along the way, and cuteness, of course. Birding at Juma was also very, very cool, and it also helped you unwind. Oh, that one was not happy. Did you see how it leaned all the way forward on its tippy toes? That was quite funny. Sort of stretched out its back legs on its tippy toes and trumpeted at that smaller bull. Which is so hilarious because they were just standing there doing absolutely nothing. They weren't even trying to get to the water. But yet there was something that they disagreed upon, and it just shows that there is actually communication going on that we can't hear for sure. Maybe this one's just a bit possessive of this waterhole at the moment. Looks like the herds finished their rest and now coming for a drink. Well, everybody, we are coming to the end of our show today, and thank you so much for joining us. As we said earlier, it really has been a wonderful one, and thank you, Jive Bunny. It has been a pleasure hosting you all this week, and I too can't wait to see you out all out on drive at Mabula. Thanks, Penelope, as well, and yes, looking forward to joining you out on live drives. It's going to be a wonderful stint there, I'm sure. Now, of course, the show will be back over the weekend, and yes, of course, it's Friday today, so I hope everyone has a wonderful time and pleasant day or evening ahead, depending where you are in the world. Of course, later on this afternoon at 4 p.m, the live drive teams will be out and about. So make sure that you stay tuned to Wild Earth for that. So from myself and the team here at Live at the Waterhole today, thank you so much for your comments and questions. And yes, I'll see you all again soon.